no one there to help me with the workload. So it was very overwhelming at times. But if you have a work buddy, then you can share the load together and it will help you not overwork. And also, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you should talk to your line manager or HR to see what they can do about it, perhaps give you some time off or something. I mean, again, here, if there isn't an HR department, it's important that whoever you're working for has somebody there who actually is there in case you need to talk to about feeling overwhelmed. As you grow up the ranks and are in a position to delegate, make sure you try and delegate as much as possible to help ease your workload. And obviously there's a trick to delegating properly. And I'm sure if you read the right books, it will point out how to do so, but I would strongly advise you to try and delegate as much as you can. And also, another thing that I've been doing ever since I started my own firm is get a work phone. I have two phones. I have a private phone, which I only give to my family and friends, and I have a work phone. That phone is for clients. And as soon as I get home in the evenings and during the weekends, I switch it off completely so that nobody is able to contact me until the next day. And also, I would advise people to take time off at work. A lot of people try to, instead of taking their holidays, they keep them and carry them over and exchange them for money. That's not a good idea. You need to take the time off as much as possible. And when you take the time off, and when you put you out of office, don't say I'm reachable at this time or whatever. I think that you should just basically say I'm going to be offline until such a date. Don't give clients the opportunity to contact you while you're away. So when you're away, stay off emails and phones. And also don't stay in a job where your mental health is not being given a priority, because that is very important. When it comes to life, it's very important for people in general to have a good quality sleep, because that really affects your ability to work. And I'm a very big fan of Arianna Huffington, who was one of the world's most influential people and is also known as the sleep guru. She's written tons of books on the importance of sleep following a personal wake-up call that she had in 2007. During that year, she had a broken cheekbone and a nasty gash over her eye from a fall that she had, which was brought on by exhaustion and lack of sleep. So she points out that this too can also help a lot, contribute a lot to your performance if you don't get good quality sleep. I would also suggest that you join platforms like Strive Global, which is created by Arianna herself, whose mission is to end stress and burnout by offering science-based solutions to enhance both well-being and welfare. This Strive Global is also available on LinkedIn and on Instagram and on Facebook. So every couple of days, they come up with like little advices on what you can do to help you with your workload and how to work better. So that would help a lot, especially for the younger lawyers. Also, it's important, very important to move your body, like Beyonce says, because a lot of us lawyers, we lead a very sedentary life, and that does not help. So I would suggest that you work out, you try and squeeze in at least 30 minutes of exercise every day. And by that, I don't mean that you have to necessarily join a gym. You can do exercise at home. You can do simple stretches at work, or if you're at work, every so often get up and move around, go and get a glass of water, go and see how your colleagues are doing. Don't just sit still for like 7 hours a day working. Another thing that's very important is you should watch your weight, because if you're overweight, that increases your blood pressure and puts you at risk of suffering from a stroke. So it's very important to have a healthy diet where you have less salt, and you should also monitor your alcohol consumption. I know a lot of people enjoy a glass of wine or something over the weekends, but they don't realize that when you have too much alcohol during the weekends, not only does it slowly damage your brain cells, but again, it's a contributing factor to strokes. So you should be very careful about that. Also, use your time wisely when you're not at work, especially during the weekends, so that you don't end up doing things that for other people instead of doing things that you love. I know a lot of people like to attend weddings, and the weekends are just as busy as during the week. It's like on Thursday we have a kitchen party, Friday you go out, Saturday is the wedding, Sunday you have to go to church or you see your parents. Every so often, take time for yourself and just sleep and just take time for yourself, whether it's meditation or reading a book or just catching up on sleep. You should do that. And also, if you're stressed out about work, I would suggest that you talk to a family friend, your mentor, a counselor, or somebody who's in a position to help you. For me personally, I wouldn't recommend that you talk to parents. And the reason why I bring this up is because when you're a lawyer, your parents, it's something that they're very proud of. And they will go around telling their friends at every occasion that they have that their daughter is a lawyer or works for this company or that lawyer or that company. And they don't want to hear that you're suffering from exhaustion or whatever. If you tell them that, they will tell you, but in our days, we didn't have exhaustion, or like we just went through it. So why are you complaining? You should just work. And that's basically what I had encountered in my position, that sometimes your parents are not the best people to talk about for things like this. So I would suggest that you talk to a family member, an older friend, mentor, or somebody like that. And I will end this session by sharing with you some key takeaways that I hope will help everyone to have a better work-life balance, especially for women. Because the thing is, while we strive to achieve our goals and obtain a better future, as women, we must ensure that we take care of ourselves. We spend so much time on focusing our efforts on looking after others that we forget to practice self-care. We think that it's selfish to practice self-care and look after ourselves. And as women, because we have this maternal instinct, our main priority is to look after other people, but not ourselves. But that has to change. And also as women, we need to support each other mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. When one of us is suffering from anxiety, depression, or is experiencing a burnout, we need to rally together and help instead of reveling at the person's demise. We should all be there for each other. And another thing, I know especially last year, the main aim for celebrating International Women's Day was Superwoman. Now that sets a bad precedent because it expects a woman to be a superwoman and do everything, but they don't realize that we're humans and we don't have superpowers and we're not like machines. Everyone gets tired, so don't try and be a superwoman. Just do your best and accept your limitations. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Joy, for such an insightful presentation and for sharing your story. I like your last sentence that we should not try to be superwoman. We should just try to do our best because we are also human beings. I would suggest that we listen to Dr. Mary, and then after Dr. Mary's presentation, we can have a round of discussion. And if you have any questions to Joy or Dr. Mary, then you can put them through after Dr. Mary's presentation. Welcome, Dr. Mary.
Okay. Hello. One minute. Okay. Sorry, I was on two devices, so I'm trying to get out of one device.
Sorry, I was on two devices, so I'm trying to get out of one device. Sorry, I was on two devices, so I'm trying to get out of one device.
Trying to get my connection going at the beginning, so I joined with my phone. Sorry for that interruption. And thank you, the previous speaker. That was a moving presentation, and I'm glad that I had issues with my connection in the beginning, because what I'm going to present to you today is basically, a lot of it has been preempted by the previous speaker. I think when we talk about empowering people, when you hear for somebody who has gone through it, I think it makes a lot of sense, and congratulations for sharing your story in this forum, because it's not easy to come forward and share all those personal details, but you, being selfish, you came and gave a very detailed account of what happened to you. So I think that will help to stress the points across of what we're going to discuss today. So I'll just take some time to in the meantime, to load my presentation on this computer, and then I'll start right away. I don't know whether I was introduced by the team, so meanwhile we can do that.
I did an introduction, but you can just proceed and briefly introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Mary Mayige. I am a research scientist working with the National Institute for Medical Research, but I'm also a practicing physician. I'm basically a diabetologist. I've been working as a medical doctor for the past 16 years. And so it has been a long journey of my career, and I can probably reiterate some of the things that the previous speaker was talking about, because I'm currently I hold about 3 jobs, but along the way I managed to sort of like manage to get hold of how to manage my time and how to manage everything that I'm doing. So at the end, probably I'll share you also my life journey and how I still manage to keep those 3 jobs going, because it's something that I do with a passion. Thank you. I'll open the document and then share my screen. So my background, I'm a medical doctor by profession, but also did public health and did clinical epidemiology for my PhD. But I'm also a mother I take care of about 5 children, so you can see it's a lot to carry on. We are not super women, but in a way we do hold some superpowers. 1 minute, I'm just opening the presentation and then sharing the screen. Okay. Sorry, I'm using a different device because of what happened earlier. So it's a bit slow in opening. Okay. Can you please allow me to share screen? It seems like the host hasn't allowed me to do that.
Josephine, please, would you assist?
Yes, we're working on it.
she already has an access.
Well, the topic of my presentation is how to keep healthy, maintaining a work-life balance. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the things that we're going to touch base today have been talks about, you know, from the perspective of a real life experience. So I'm very glad that that was able to that happened earlier on. So when I was sent the request to do the presentation, the information that was sent to me had this statement. I think it's also on the advert that was sent out to the members, and it said, health is a state of complete harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. And I quoted that this was given by TAWLA, so I'm not sure whether I'm correct that this was your definition, but just for the sake of this meeting, we'll call it that. And it's a very simple way of describing what we define as a complete state of health. This is the standard definition agreed by the WHO. And it's the way we define it is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So we now we need to learn that being healthy is not only the absence of disease, because this is what we all think kwamba kuwa na afya nzuri is not to have disease. So you might be disease-free, but still you're not healthy because you have all these other mental and social conflicts that are in turn interfering with your state of complete health. So for us to be healthy, to be considered healthy, our body needs to be in complete harmony. I like that. Maybe I should have underlined it. The body has to be in complete harmony with the mind, the body, the mind, and the spirit. So all these, they go together to create that the state of being healthy. So as I go through the next slides, I think we need to reflect among ourselves whether we really fit into this definition of health, and try to also, in the back of our mind, listen and see what can we do so that to a certain extent we can achieve that state of complete harmony of the body, mind, and spirit. So the assumption also for this meeting is that I will be talking to professional women who, I think, given the experience in your field, most of them will be working in probably a private setting, maybe self-employed. So that is the assumption that I made in preparing this slide. And there is need to empower women to overcome the fatigue that is resulting from the current working lifestyle. And how do we then, we need to identify the coping mechanisms, and how do we then maintain a healthy work-life balance? And I think I need to also add there self-care, because us being women, we tend to put others first before we putting ourselves. So I think that will be another important aspect to discuss before the end of this meeting. So what is, when we need to discuss what is stress. So stress is actually a natural way of your body overcoming a demanding or undesirable situation. So when you have something that you need to achieve, your body will be activated in a certain state for you to be able to achieve what you need to achieve. Or if you're faced with a certain danger, your body will undergo a series of events to allow you to cope with whatever that you're being faced with. And so stress can be, in the physiological sense of it, can be a good thing, but also if stress persists, that's a bad thing, because then there are other things that come as a result of that continued stress to our bodies. So the stress, the way the body reacts, we have the nervous system. I'm sure you can within the body, we have the nervous system, the nerves, the way we react to touch, the way we react. It's how signals move throughout the body for you to be able to respond to your external environment, but also to be able to run your body as an engine. But also we have the hormonal system, which also can be deactivated or activated for you to be able to cope with that stressful situation. And also in dealing with stress, so once you're faced with a stressful event, there's 3 stages in the stress response. The first one is the alarm. Like today, I was like, oh my God, I was trying to connect, my internet is not connecting, I have to get another modem. So I went into that state, and I had to make sure that I sort it out as fast as possible so that I can join the meeting. So that is the first stage. And then the second stage is you start to panic and things like that. And then comes the adaptation stage, so that your alert hormones, your alert systems then started to be calmed down by a different system. And then you adapt and you're able to deal with whatever you are dealing with. And the last stage is the exhaustion or recovery. So it depends how long, how bad, how big the stress was. So you either get exhausted and not be able to cope, or you're able to recover from that stressful event and go on with your usual business. So those stages of stress response can be acute, as in something that happens within a very short period of time and you're able to recover. But if this is chronic stress, then you might be able to see other physical effects of stress, although it starts as an emotional thing, but because of those physiological changes, the way physiology is how your body responds with the chemicals and all that to such a situation. So it can transform into a physical harm. So in this talk, I would like to focus more on the chronic stress. So this is one of the common health issues. As a doctor, I've seen a number of patients that come to you, they're like, oh, apa panauma, pale panauma, but when you look at it in detail, you find that it's probably just stress and body exhaustion. And so it's something that is very common and is one of the major causes of outpatient visits in our hospitals. So it's something that needs to be dealt with, kwa sababu pia, apart from kuleta iyo physical harm, at the end of the day, it leads to a lot of healthcare expenditures ambazo zingeweza kuepukika kwa make sure that you prevent those stressful situations. So chronic stress can also lead to diseases, as we've heard from the presentation. You can have a high blood pressure, you can have problems with your digestive system, tumbo inauma hapa. You go, they do all the tests, nothing seen, could be something serious, but most of the time you find it is from your body is just giving way from the chronic stressful situations. And then you have the chronic aches and pains and heart problems, but could also lead to stroke as a result of either hypertension or the slowly occurring damage that happens to your blood vessels. And also stress can also negatively impact mental health because it leads to higher risk of depression, anxiety, insomnia. Insomnia means failing to sleep. So you have people that, because if you have an impending deadline and you're there sleeping, you know, kumbuka, kesho I have this deadline, I have to do this, I have to pay my staff, I have to do. So all that leads to poor sleep, and poor sleep, we know there's another also, there's another connection to poor sleep and having diseases. So that even increases your risk of getting all these chronic diseases. And there has been a very popular study that was recently published, and this is a study that was jointly done by WHO and ILO that was linking work-related stress and working long hours to disease. So it's really cementing what we've known all along, and I hope that this is going to also lead into practical changes in our workplaces, because having the publications and the reports coming out, if it doesn't translate into our behavior, changing behavior, then so this is one of the studies, very popular study that came out that can be used to advocate for better working conditions and reasonable working hours in our workplaces. And then I just want to, after now talking about stress and what you can do, I just want to focus a few minutes on discussing what is work-life balance. So we need to really, as a previous speaker also said, that you have to have your own time, you have to have your family time, you have to have your work time. Now, with the improvement in technology, it seems like work is following us everywhere. So there's not really like I'm working from 8 to 5. Usually, a lot of us, myself including, I wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is check my emails, because then I know what I'm up against for the day. Sometimes you even forget to say your morning prayers. The first thing you do is look at your device and see what work is there. Even at night, before sleeping, you want to know what else has happened so that you plan for the coming day. So I think we really need to put we need to draw a line and make sure that we are aware of what this is doing to ourselves and to our health and to our bodies, and also into our personal life. So I like this slide that I found when I was doing a literature search on work-life balance, and I thought it represented well and what a lot of us are facing. So you have to juggle your personal life, your family, your friends. You have to also juggle yourself, and also you have the professional life where you're looking at the job, the career, but also looking at the aspect of finances, because some people tend to work hard just because of the economics. That's how the economic situation dictates. So how do we then find a balance between the two? Because most of the time you find very successful people, they kind of they've had to sort of adjust somewhere else, probably not a very great personal life, so that you can be able to create more time for your professional life. And how do you plan your job, your career, and also doing something that you love vis-a-vis having to do the job because you need to survive on it. So all these things dictates how you're going to your body is going to respond to the stresses that you're facing in your professional life, but also the personal, dealing also with the personal life. I think this is something that has not been taken into account very much in our society, because we don't really have very good support, human resource support, because when you talk about most of the human resource managers in our workplaces, I think their job description is to make sure that you're there on time, and you do your work as you're supposed to do. But what needs to be invested in you so that you become more productive and provide more to the organization, I think this is something that has not been given serious thought. And maybe going forward in our businesses, in our places of work, we need to look at in detail how the people's personal life affects their productivity and how they can be supported, because you can't have a one size fits all, because people go through different experiences. But also during our career development, because you know, as our previous speaker said, we can be ambitious, but we need to set also, we need to set realistic expectations, because I realized myself that I went through my training very quick in life, and you reach a point, you're still very young, but you know, like somehow way ahead of your, so you find that that does not match with your personal life, your family life. So maybe, so you need to define what you want to give as a person. What is your, you know, what is your priority, and set your priorities straight depending on your individual interests, and not just fit into the social norm, because those are the things that in the end can affect how you feel about your work, can affect how you balance your personal and your professional life. So how do we maintain a work-life balance, and how can we cope with stress? I think the first step is in managing the stressful events and stressful situation in our workplaces is to identify the factors which cause the stress, because these are individual factors. They're not the same for everybody. So it depends on what you give value as a person. So so there are people that probably if they work, some people are overwhelmed by a lot of work. Some people, they actually enjoy having a lot of work. So you need to identify what are the factors, and also setting the as I said, the expectations, because it's what you set as the expectation for yourself is how is going to expose you to the stressful situation or not, because even this is also dependent on the individual personalities. So there are people that are high achievers and they're able to do that. There are others that sit and compare themselves with the others and stress throughout the day. So you need to identify, you know, what are the factors that triggers your stress, and then from that, then it's easier to identify and know how you're going to deal with it, and it's not the same for everybody. But also in terms of dealing with the work-related stress and maintaining a life-work balance, lifestyle changes is essential. As mentioned before, I know there are people that are in, for example, in professional, especially among professionals like the lawyers, the doctors, because we tend to work long hours, and it's a service-based environment. So you tend to, if you're a person that cares more for the people, then you end up being exhausted. And also the system that we have, it does not be, you know, like you expect that it will, the more hardworking you are, the system should be able to reward you. But you know, the way the experience that I've had is that if you're good at your work, then you get more work, because then you have to compensate for all the other people in the office who are not delivering. So so we need to identify our limits and make sure that we set those realistic expectations. And as a result also of our long working hours, we find that not necessarily that many of us have access to a healthy diet, because you buy everything and leave it in the fridge at home. Your house worker enjoys all the wonderful environment that you've set at home, and then you go to work long hours. You don't have access to many people, when you talk to them, they don't have the access to the healthy foods and the healthy diets that they would wish to have access to at their workplaces or during meetings or while traveling. So professional women also face, apart from not, you know, it's not really a matter of not knowing what to consume. They know what to consume, but it's the environment that does not support the behavior. There are people that obviously still need to be educated on healthy diet, but I think it's really a matter of access. And as managers, some of us are in decision making. This is something that we need to we need to bring more attention to. The workplaces, the foods need to be healthy. They need to restrict some of the products that are found near our offices or within our office canteens that are predisposing us to unhealthy diets. The same with physical activity. We tend to sit and work long hours, and with the introduction of Zoom after the COVID as well, many of us sit in meetings. You can have 20 meetings in a day because you don't have to commute and go there. You can easily find yourself seated morning till evening because of the environment and the changes that we're experiencing. And also the long commute to work, I think also prevents a lot of us from engaging in physical activity. I remember there was a time that I had to wake up at 4 to go to the gym and then get ready and then go to the office. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. And I can't do it in the evening because I want to go home early and see my kids. So you might have the will to do, but it's the physical environment that is surrounding you that prevents from doing that. So we need to really be mindful of this and make sure that we as proposed by the previous speaker, that make sure that you do a bit of physical activity, at least 30 minutes a day if you can. So make sure that, and physical activity, as rightly said, does not mean going to the gym. So you can do work, you can do your own work at home, cleaning, walking, going for lunch with colleagues, maybe at a restaurant a few blocks from where you work, and you take a walk, and not really ordering food where you're seated at your desk, because a lot of us do that, and that's really detrimental to your health. It's really detrimental to your health. So we really need to take into account what we are feeding ourselves, and also take into account the need to be active. We also need to relax a bit, because being a professional doesn't mean that that you be serious all the time, being a lawyer. So there's certain expectations that are put upon us. Maybe we need to relax a little bit and make sure that yes, we know we're doing very important work in the society, but at the same time, you are the, the moment you're not there, somebody else will take that spot. So it doesn't mean that if you're not there, things will not move. And one person one day was telling me that someone was saying that a person had passed away and there was no one to replace that person. And we like saying that as Africans, yule ameondoka, yani pale hakuna mtu atakayeziba lile pengo. Kama hakuna mtu wa kuziba lile pengo, it means that that person didn't do a good job. Kwa sababu you're supposed to create, you have to make sure that you groom other people to be able to work with you as a system and not really working as an individual. So you need to create a system in your workplace. If you don't have that, if it means that if you're not there, nothing else moves, you haven't done a good job. So we need to identify those weaknesses and make sure that we set systems within our working environment so that we're able to take time off for ourselves. So depending on what you have, take some time and enjoy your hobbies as an individual, whether it's running, whether it's walking, whether it's meditation, whether it's cooking, whatever that person enjoys doing. And also importance of social networks. As a doctor dealing with chronic conditions, I come across a lot of older people. And one of the regrets that they have, especially the ones that have been working in formal sectors, is that they assume the people they were working with to be their friends. So immediately when they retire, they find themselves with no social networks, because the people that you work with at the office, that relationship ends the moment you leave that office. So it's important that we invest in our hobbies, so that when that time comes that you need to slow down, you can actually start doing things that you enjoy. They need to maintain social networks, because this will be very important in maintaining your, especially the mental well-being, the mental health well-being. So I think I've talked a little bit, but how do we manage work-related stress? So we need to work more efficiently, but working hard is not the same as where you could be spending a lot of hours in the office. but in the end, your output is as little as somebody who has worked maybe 1 hour. So we need to see how best we can work, and not really by working doesn't really mean. So we have to be output based, and not really how much time you put into it. And it's okay to say no when you're overwhelmed. Not being lazy, kwamba kila kitu mimi hapana, I'm saying no hapana, but you know, you have to have, we have to keep that that balance to make sure that at the end of the day you have your output and also taking care of yourself. And I think for junior colleagues, because they think, you know, once they get into the field, they want what the other person has, and not really realizing that that person has been ahead of you for over 20 years. So you really also, we need to you know, keep those expectations ziwe kidogo realistic, na sio kwamba nataka hiki just because the other person has it, and not really taking into consideration the time that has been put in and the resources to get where they are. And we learn to delegate. I've spoke a little bit about that, and they need to create systems. If you're a senior colleague, then engage the younger colleague and make sure that they, you know, you help them get the necessary skills that they need. That's a huge investment that will help you, you know, kwa pamoja unaenda mbali ukiwa peke yako. You can go somewhere, but you hautafika mbali kama vile ukienda na timu nzima. And also they need to learn to effectively manage our time. The people that stay in the office mpaka saa 4 za usiku, but not necessarily that they have the same output na yule mtu ambaye anaingia saa 2 natoka saa 10. So it's really about how you manage your time, how you manage your tasks and outputs. So now I just want to focus on something that I'm more comfortable with, lifestyle management. And as a person who is interested in non-communicable diseases, I thought I shouldn't leave you without saying this, because I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there that I wanted to set straight. So lifestyle management is an important aspect of preventing a lot of diseases. As we've been told, lack of exercise, improper diet, they contribute to diabetes, heart disease, and some cancers. And healthy lifestyle is key. And also they need to maintain physical activity, diet, and lower our alcohol consumption. And it's also important in maintaining, we need to maintain a healthy way to prevent diseases. And as said previously, so physical activity does not mean going to the gym. So it can be work related. Kuna watu ambao kazi zao ni yule mtu ambaye anafanya usafi kwa mfano, anaibeba mizigo. So that is work related. Active transportation, going to work with a bicycle, maybe not very practical here, but you can do it at your own, at leisure time as a means of physical activity. But also taking the dala, you know, because some people, you take the dala, or even going to church, unaenda kanisani, all the churches are actually within a walkable radius. But I think most of us, when we go to church or go to the mosque, unaenda na gari, you park it there, you know, you can shout and somebody can hear from your house, but you still go with a vehicle. So we need to promote more active transportation, and also leisure time physical activity. For us, while growing up, not many of us were exposed to physical activity na kujifunza michezo mbalimbali, but we should make sure that our kids now are more exposed, and also us as adults, we can also learn a few exercise, you know, michezo hapa na pale, so you can go swimming, you can go play basketball, netball. We don't have that, but I think that is something that we need to revive. It was there in the past. I don't know what happened. We don't have it anymore, but this was something good that will take our mind off the work. So when you do physical activity, there's a lot of benefits that it brings to our bodies. It can regulate our blood glucose, lowers our cholesterol, reduces blood pressure. It can reduce your weight. It can improve your heart fitness. It also reduces mental strain, and you get a general feeling of well-being and improved quality of life. So diet, I'm assuming that I'm talking to a lot of ladies. So I gave this talk at another forum. I should have deleted that. But there's a lot of diets, and maybe we can have a little chat if we have time. I'm sure you've heard of the paleo diet, Mediterranean diet, the keto, which is very famous, one of the diets that I really, really hate as a doctor. The DASH diet, the vegan, the intermittent fasting, the zoning diet. So there's a lot of things, but my plea is before you go into any of these diets, please speak to a professional. And most of the time they all have their pros and cons, and they're there for a reason. And when you're looking at what diet to follow, do not, or what health information that you want to look into, do not go into any .com site, because that usually has a selling point in the end. So they're propagating something that they want to sell. So it's not really a balanced information. So it's better that you go into either a .ac, which will be a university, or a .org. Most of the time will be maybe a government institution or a more credible institution, rather than somebody who is trying to sell you stuff. So that is my plea. But one of the diets that have been shown to be very good in terms of the health outcomes is the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. And for those who want to lose weight, the intermittent fasting, but it has to be done right. And so that you don't, because all these diets in the end, some of them, especially the more extreme ones, they have physical, permanent physical effects on the body. And as medical doctors, we don't really recommend them. So a lot of them, as they come from the business side of things. So also in terms of diets, it's also important to consider the food quality, how the food is prepared, how the food is cooked, because it's all, when you cook food, there are things that are lost during the process. So a lot of fried things, you will find that maybe the quality of the food, the quality of the nutrients in those foods have completely changed. So it's very important also to pay attention to that. And as a general rule, we advise that half your plate at all the meals should be vegetables, and quarter of it should be starch, and quarter of it should be protein, regardless whether you have diabetes, you don't have diabetes, you have hypertension. If you eat such a diet, it will help you maintain a healthy weight. And if you're obese, slowly you will begin to lose weight. And pay attention to fried foods, because those will add a lot of calories that you're not able to spend. And also, there are people that say, "Oh, Mimi, I don't eat lunch. I just eat only fruits. I take juice diet, so that's why I take nili." So there's a lot of sugar in the very simple things that we take that we don't really consider to have a lot of sugar, and these are the ones that are adding to our struggles of weight loss. For example, if you're talking about a soda, you can see my cursor. A soda, a Mountain Dew of 500 mils will have about 16 tablespoons, and that is average for almost all the sodas that we see in our. So our sodas have at least 9 because they're 350 mils, so they'll have at least 9 tablespoons of sugar. So would you do that? Put that in your tea? Probably, I don't think so. So that's where we get a lot of the extra sugars that we're consuming. And also the milkshakes and all that, they have a lot of sugar. So we should be careful on what we are consuming. But also the other culprits is fruits. I know as ladies say, "Oh, I don't eat this, I don't want to have lunch, I'll just have fruits, that's my diet." First of all, you're limiting your access to nutrients. So the food has to be, you have to have at every meal all the food groups, so that you're able to get all the minimum requirements for most of the nutrients. if you stick to one group, so when you're talking about fruits is only a certain kind of nutrients, so, but also your body needs the healthy fats. You need all that to be able to, and you need quite a large amount of protein to be able to repair and deal with the everyday stresses of the body. And you also need a lot of vegetables to also get the antioxidants that you need without having a lot of sugar that comes with it. So you should be mindful of the fruits also contain sugar. Yes, we need to consume fruits, but it has to be in a certain in a certain limited amount. So it's a lot of more fresh vegetables and eat fruits, not sio yale babakuli makubwa yanayopitishwa maofisini. So we need to have sizable portions, and we need to educate ourselves what is the right portion for fruits and what is the right portion for vegetables, for everything. I would like to talk about alcohol. This is a very famous, when I project this, a lot of people, even if they are sleeping, they start to come alive. So with alcohol, of course, we say alcohol has a very tricky relationship. It's a very thin line between what is considered safe as far as alcohol content is concerned and what is considered dangerous. So at very low levels, it is considered, some studies have shown, not all studies, but some studies have shown that a little bit of alcohol is good for especially your heart health. But as I said, there's a very thin line between what is good and what is bad. So it is advised that women consume at least a single unit of alcohol per day. So that means a single pot of the spirits. I don't know who drinks that. And when it comes to beers, it's a single bottle of, for example, Heineken, the one of 330. So that is 1 unit, and you're advised not to consume more than 1 unit a day. So we talk about 7 units a week, and it doesn't translate into taking I'm taking all of it because I'm drinking only once a day. Then I'll take all of them at once, because that's the limit that I have to take in a week, upon, because these limits are set according to what your body can digest. So your body is not able to digest more than those mentioned units of alcohol, because men have a bigger surface area. They can consume a bit more, but the women, the recommended amount is very low, as you can see. And for a wine, it's about 120 mils glass of wine, the small one. But I know us ladies, some of us can down a whole bottle of wine or 2. So that is putting stress on our bodies, and our bodies are not able to deal with that. And then as a concluding slide, I thought maybe I should just make here, because we have all these wonderful ladies here. I work mostly in non-communicable diseases and promoting policies and advising the ministry also on how to deal with non-communicable diseases. But there are a lot of things that are needed to tackle non-communicable diseases require legislations. So I thought too. So we need to, as I said, we might want to do exercises, but we have nowhere to do the exercises. So that can be only dealt with legislations. If you have the legislations that are enforced, that to make sure that before you build a road, you have to make sure that you have pedestrian ways. You have before you build a school, you should have playground. So hivyo vitu ambavyo vinahitajika kufanyika kisheria ili ku make sure kwamba we create that enabling environment na ku promote healthier living. And also the alcohol policy, the Alcohol Control Act, the healthcare financing. Tunahangaika sasa hivi kujua where to get the money to treat people, but ni kitu ambacho kinatakiwa kiwe kisheria kwamba hii hela inatoka wapi, inakatwa wapi. So once we agree on those, then we'll be able to deal with the increased levels of non-communicable diseases. And also creating a more conducive working environment. as a result of implementation of some of these legislations. So most importantly is the food safety, because now food production is becoming a business, and more and more, kama tunavyoongea kwamba nchi inavyozidi kuendelea ni kwamba hatuwezi we cannot keep depending on subsistence farming. Kwa hiyo tutaenda kwenye large scale farming, large scale preservation, large scale processing, and all that. Hizo processing zote kuna issues za usalama wa kiafya ambazo zinatakiwa ziwe taken care of. So we need to have legislation that govern that govern the standards, you know, mafuta gani watu wanatumia kama ni chakula kinapikwa, how do we control the sugar content in whatever is being promoted, how do we create a better environment na access ya vyakula kwenye maofisi, kwa sababu ikitoka sheria tu kwamba hakuna kuweka vyakula ambavyo havi support afya nzuri kwenye maeneo ya kazi, it means kwamba hata kama wewe unataka kula chips nini sijui zile, you will not be able to access them within your work. So in a way it protects you. Kwa hiyo some of those legislations are needed to be able to protect sisi wa makazini, lakini vile vile watoto wetu ambao wanakuwa mashuleni. Legislations on drugs and medical devices, you know, there's a lot of legislation ambazo zitahitaji nyinyi wanasheria kuzifanyia kazi, so that in the end sisi tunatibu and you work on the other side, tunakutana katikati and we create a more conducive environment, and that makes sure that we're all well taken care of. I think I spoke too much. I would like to end here my presentations. Asante sana kwa kunisikiliza. I look forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mary, for such a wonderful presentation. I loved the lifestyle management, because personally I've tried so many diets, but they've never worked.
They don't work.
But now I've noted about the Mediterranean diet and the Dutch diet. I'll see if those one will work. So maybe next week I'll try on them. I'll start with the Mediterranean diet.
Okay, but as I said, you need to speak to a professional, because they're all there for a purpose. So before adapting any, because some of them, there might be some restrictions somewhere, and you might need to do, you know, supplementation, like vitamin supplementations and things like that, so that you have an all-round access to all the nutrients that you're required to get. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I've went through the chat, and there are mainly comments to the presenters, and I will read some. Lotus Menezes says, "Go Joy, what an incredible woman. Thank you for sharing your story. The metamorphosis of a butterfly was an insightful read. So proud of you." So for those who doesn't know, Joy has written a book about the ordeal that she has gone through, and the book is available at the Novel Idea for those who would love to read the book. And Advera Kamuzora, great to be part of this team. Walter Julius, such a great webinar. Joaquina Di Mello, amazing living testimony, Joy, God is good. Nelly Mwasongwe, powerful webinar, great to be here. Walter Julius, very interesting testimony, Joy. Mary Casey, inarekodiwa, atapenda kuwa shared, ni nzuri sana, asanteni kuorganize. Walter Julius, I recommend if Joy can prepare a book or short documentary of this story, it will heal a lot of women because it is a very common problem. So Walter, I've directed you where you can get a copy of the book. Joaquina Di Mello, I too suffered vertigo early this year, stroke related. My ENT specialist said it is ears equilibrium imbalance. I never carry work from office back home. Joaquina Di Mello, sleep early and drink lots of fluids. Water mostly, take time for yourself. Me time, There is always a replacement in the event you pass or fall ill. Great advice. Thanks, Joy. God bless you, Joy. You are an amazing woman. Thank you, Joy. I like this. Don't try to be a superwoman. Vupe Ligate, thanks for the health tips, Joy. Yes, I agree. We should not expect to be superwomen. Elizabeth Mwase, thank you for the great presentation, Joy, and for instilling as much as possible a work-life balance at Novita Law. Joaquina Di Melo, very sincere, Joy is. Patricia Maganga, Dr. Mary, congratulations, long time. Joaquina Di Melo, there is a tendency also around us to please people. We have to learn to say no at times. So those are the sums of the comments. Also, Joaquina Di Melo, at the work of COVID pandemic, there has increasingly been these webinars, too suffocating as well. Fasting at least few days monthly is healthy. And at Vera Kamuzora, thanks Dr. Mary for great knowledgeable and informative presentation. Mary Casey, thank you, Dr. Mary. So now I would like to invite anyone from the floor. If you have any comment and if you'd like to speak, you can flash your mic. I don't see anyone. Then I'd like to welcome the presenters. We'll start with Joy, just to say any last words to the participants before we end our session.
Okay, thank you very much, Aisha, and thank you, Dr. Mary, for all those helpful tips. I'm sure they've been helping a lot of people. I've noticed some of the comments that you had made in there. And first of all, I wanted people to know that basically, I think the reason I had the stroke was definitely to do with work stress and insomnia, because I always maintained a very healthy diet. I worked out. Like everybody who knows me, when they heard about my stroke, they were like, you, but you're the healthiest person we know. So it was definitely work stress and insomnia. And because when it comes to taking food at work, in 2019, I went to see a personal trainer and a dietitian, because unlike other people, I actually wanted to put on weight because I was underweight. So then they introduced me to the chart that you showed about having the vegetables and the protein and the starch. So I've been doing that all the time, and I cook all my meals, my day, every weekend. Basically my shopping list is basically fruits, veg, and all that. I don't have a maid, so I do all my cooking myself. And when I go to work, I normally take food with me. I make like a salad that makes sure that it has all those things in there, so that there's something there. And I make sure I have that, and I also have nuts and things like that in between. So I try to make sure as much as possible that I had a very healthy lifestyle. And in terms of alcohol, I was never somebody who used to drink a lot of alcohol. And especially like after when COVID hit, because I don't believe in drinking when you're living on your own. So when COVID hit, I didn't drink at all for like 7 months. And even now after the stroke, I haven't drunk for 7 months, and I don't miss it at all. So people sometimes think that you can't live without alcohol, but you actually can. And so things like that, and relaxation, I think, is very important. Like even this morning, when I woke up, before I got ready for this talk, I actually did some yoga to relax my mind, to put me in the right frame of mind. So that's very important. Also, for those who find it hard to sleep, I would definitely recommend reading an audiobook. But of course, not one that like to do with like thriller or anything like that, but like some of these there are some things, like an app called Calm, where they have like sleep what they call them, sleep stories, and they have authors I mean, they have actors who have very soothing voices. So when you listen to them, you automatically start feeling sleepy. So you don't have to take medication or anything like that. Just listening to them helps calm your mind so that you can fall asleep easily. So those are the things that I wanted to say. And in terms of cooking, it really does help a lot for people because if you learn to cook yourself, then you can monitor the type of things that go into your food and how to like adjust your lifestyle. If you leave it all to the maid or something, then you don't know, when you're not looking, they can add more mafuta, because some people think that having a lot of mafuta makes the food easier. So that's why I don't even have a maid. All the cooking I do myself. So that's one thing that I wanted to share. A lot of people think it's very hard to like start like a diet and things like that, but it's very easy once you just follow the simple things about having the vegetables and the starch and the protein. And in Tanzania or East Africa, we are very lucky that we have very good fruits and stuff. And here in Scotland, and it's amazing. The other day we went out, and when we looked at the size of an avocado, we just laughed because it looked like a lemon compared to the fruits back at home. So in Tanzania, we're so blessed to have all these fruits and vegetables, but people just don't realize how lucky we are. So people should try and use them as much as possible and incorporate them into their diet. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Joy.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Mary, any last words to our participants?
Thank you very much, Joy, for your concluding remarks. I think throughout this lecture, a lot of us have had the reflection, kuangalia tulichokiongea hapa and how we're doing. So I think it's important that, again, listening, understanding is one thing, but implementing what we've learned and making the real life changes is where the problem is. So really we need to make that commitment, like kusema kwamba from now on, I'm going to put myself first. Sometimes it's hard as a woman because we feel like we have to take care of everybody, but I think sometimes it's the right thing to do, to just switch off and take care of yourself. I think I've said this over and over, that we need to set realistic expectations, not being lazy, not being an like you can be an overachiever, but it has to be within reasonable limits so that we protect our mental health. In Africa, also, we think talking about mental health is a taboo. This is a real thing. So if you feel that you're going through something that is overwhelming, it's important to seek help. We can start with our immediate families, as Joy said. We have our social networks, mchungaji wako, sijui nani wako, but also going for a proper psychological consultation, or psychological consultation, because these people are there. Kuna watu ambao they are professional in dealing with such situations. So before it gets out of hand, it's important to identify it. And if it gets overwhelming that you cannot deal with it, whether it is work, whether it is a social event, it's important that you seek appropriate care, because stress, as I mentioned in my presentation, it leads to actual physical changes. If I may point to what Joy said, it might be that she's doing everything well in terms of the lifestyle, but the stress by itself can actually make changes in your blood vessels and lead to, like the stroke that you had. Or because of the, like the imbalances in hormones, you find your blood pressure going up, not necessarily because you're obese or not necessarily because you are not exercising. So I think it's really important to make sure that we have the right balance between our work environment, our home environment, and also making sure that we put ourselves first, not selfishly, but rightfully so that we should understand kwamba afya yetu ndio mtaji wetu, as Mheshimiwa Umi said during that campaign, kwamba afya yako inabidi uanze nayo. If you abuse yourself, it means kwamba hizo kazi ambazo unajaribu kuziachieve, whatever you're trying to build will not be sustainable. So that will be my last remarks. And I very much thank TAWLA for inviting me in this very important meeting among all these distinguished waheshimiwa wasomi. So I'm glad to be here and glad to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mary, and thank you all our participants for attending today's session. We have learned that health matters and we must take care of ourselves. We had two outstanding presenters who spoke about mental health of lawyers and addressing some of the key aspects, particularly referring to psychological and emotional fatigue. Thank you, Dr. Mary, and thank you so much, Joy, for coming out strong and sharing your experience with us. Although your voice is not strong, you are a true stroke warrior. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you, everyone, and see you next month. Josephine, do you have any housekeeping issues, or we should just close the session? I see Josephine is not around. So this is the end of our session today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aisha. All right.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hello.